So obviously, we're discussing your time in Vietnam now. Was there any significant event, or when was the first time you recall opening up about your experience there?
I get, uh, yeah, it was at the vet center.
Hmm.
Uh, I guess it was about 15 years or so after Vietnam, and it'd been kind of percolating to a certain extent. And so, wife and I were watching this program on TV. Uh, it was a PBS program, and it was about these vets, in Wisconsin, and they were like I say, they're just normal dudes, you know. They weren't doing anything special. They just talking about how they do things in life and everything and everything. I mean, they weren't like I've always hated that Rambo. The typical Vietnam veteran Rambo. I mean, no, the guy's so untypical. Um, so I saw saw that, and I said, well, I'll give him a call to the vet center down there in Franklin Street in Richmond. And gosh, I don't know why I did, but I did it. And I'll never forget the lady Gloria. She she says you're coming down. No, but she got me to talk me into coming down, and I did. And at the vet center was a new thing they just established. The vets aren't going back to VA for psychiatric counseling because they didn't want to get the drugs, and that was it. Everything. So they did this outpatient group counseling, and that's what it was. Um, they tossed you in a group with about 8 or 10 other veterans, and it was led by a friend Dan Doyle, and he had a knack of kind of just letting everybody talk about things, and that was big. That was it. Hearing first time I'd ever spoken since leaving Vietnam with other vets.
And what
You
year
know,
was that?
that was 15 years after that, probably 85 or something like that, 86, something like that. But that was the first time ever that I even talked to anybody, and it was and there wasn't all guys who were running around the bush, tossing grenades and stuff. I mean, we had one was a B-52 pilot, and there was Martha. She was I never forget her, a triage nurse. I mean, my God, talking about being a saint. Oh my God, a triage nurse. I remember a couple of times going into Quantry to see some of the men, and it's like, boy, no, I mean, that's another. Those people are unbelievable doing what they're doing. And but the funny thing about it was, one of the guys in the class was Roger Sullivan, and he wouldn't say anything. Roger just sat there. And then one time he called me up out of the blue, and I'm going like, "Oh man, what do you call me about, Roger? I got nothing to talk about. It's Saturday afternoon, and it's a miserable day." And finally, I looked out and I saw this. It was just a fine mist. It was a rain, and he was calling me up because of the rain. The rain had affected him. He was a ranger, and he saw a lot of activity. He was up on the DMZ with me, and the Rangers get in hot and heavy, and I was just in the battery, and but we knew a lot of common people's situations and what have you, and it was really remarkable, and I don't think it's because of me. It's just because we got to talking. Uh, he started opening up, and we talked about stuff, and and later on, Roger became the national president for the Purple Heart Association. I mean, talk about going from a clam to that, you know. So, I think I see other vets coming in, the new ones coming in. And I say, you got anything? Go down to the vet center, you know, Yeah, because I think the thing there is you trust the people. You don't worry about you're going to be uh, looked at a little differently, or is or talking with somebody who's got an agenda. I've gotten to where uh, I don't mind. I like talking with kids. I told you you're a kid, as far as I'm concerned, uh, because they don't have agendas. These high school kids and middle school kids, they'll get up there and ask you, "Oh, well, what did y'all do? What you do?" And everything. Uh, and then, of course, they always hit you a loaded question. How many people you kill? No, we're not doing that. But we'll answer the questions. How tasty were the sea rations? And everything. But no, as a side note on that, I had a neighbor across the street, and he was in the army, and he served in Iraq or something. I think he was wounded over there, but he was also, I mean, he was pretty good. Yeah, he was on with the honor guard at Fort Meier, so he was a pretty sharp guy. But he asked me one time. He said, "Hey, Larry, what you do for fun over there?" What the hell are you talking about? What you do for fun?
Not much of it, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we had great weekend trips. Everything, but yeah, that was it.